my side, I built a loop. Oh, there it is. LaKeisha just came in. All right.
Hey, everybody.
Hey. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. And welcome. We are live. We are live. We are live. I hit it early, right? And it's starting soon. Actually started right now.
I'll be good.
No, you are fine. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you for joining us here on my podcast called A Little Bit of This and a Little Bit of That. And this evening, we are starting with our very first live, my very first kitchen table, with an amazing woman called Dr. LaKeischa McMillan. And Dr. McMillan, as you can tell right here, was born in Huntsville, Alabama, and she might have some friends sitting in this room that she has known since birth, almost. But she became a doctor. She graduated from Oakwood University and HBCU, as well as Loma Linda University, School of Medicine, where she got her doctorate and Doctor of Medicine. Let me be very specific on what that is. In addition to her academic and training and certification, she has the use of and I'm going to just say it here, the Da Vinci surgical system for minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery. She is the creator of two signature programs called Hormone Hottie Bootcamp and the other PMS University. She's expanding on her mission to teach women and other practitioners how to truly understand perimenopause and menopause. Her ability to reach and teach women has grown through her bestseller, The Other PMS, and Your Survival Guide for Perimenopause and Menopause, and through national features, including appearances on the Oprah Winfrey Network, and her role on Founding Advisory Board, the Momentum Intimacy, the only FDA-approved physician-designed vaginal lube line. A gifted speaker, and I'm just going to let you guys know she's one of my favorite people on earth. A gifted speaker, integrative OBGYN, hormone specialist, and Amazon bestselling author, Dr. LaKeischa validates women's symptoms, helps them crack their hormone code and personalize their symptom solution blueprint. Her mix of clinical expertise and lived experience empowers women to help their bodies obey again so they can reclaim their energy, their confidence, and intimate wellness. And if you want to become a hormone hottie, you just need to follow her on all of her social media pages, Dr. LaKeischa MD. Now, that's Dr. LaKeisha's introduction. It was long. And she is, like I've told all of my friends, the only person I know who can make you feel like you're not crazy. Mm-hmm. Now, joining me at this round table, kitchen table, are four friends, close friends, who are willing to jump in and dive with me. And each one either represents a stage in life, either by age or by occupation, that I feel like every single woman is going through, right? And they all represent a different area in actually the profession. So starting first, I'm going to introduce you to Kelly Doolin. And Kelly Doolin is a senior leader in social enterprise. Now, she is a mother of multiple children. And I would call her in the middle of her perimenopause, menopause journey. That's what I'm going to say. That's how I'm going to describe her. She is also, again, a dear friend, and actually the one who's known Keisha since birth, because she is coming to us from Huntsville, Alabama. Next we have, thank you, Kelly. Next we have Tracy White. She's coming in from California. And Tracy is in education and is literally in her classroom taking a moment to join our show. Now, Tracy, I would say, is at the beginning of hormone replacement therapy. right? So she is just coming on board. And literally, as we were sitting here talking in the green room, she's complaining about how hot it is because her hot flashes are not her friend. And being 90 degrees in December is not good for her. So thank you, Tracy, for coming in. Next, we have Monique Lee. Monique comes from corporate America, and Monique's journey is a huge one. I will just say Monique is one of my first friends. Tracy and Monique were my very first friends when I moved to California more years ago than I want to count. And so we've been around a long time. And I will say that Monique was one of the first people I knew that actually kind of biohacked her perimenopause symptoms. So much so, I actually called her to ask her about matching symptoms. And so she is much further along in her menopausal journey. In fact, when I was talking to Keisha, I said, "Oh yeah, she's postmenopausal," and Keisha, she'll explain, said, "I don't even call it postmenopausal anymore." So she's further along than the rest of us, but brings a lot to the journey. Monique was one of those ones, though, that had to fight because 10 years ago, they wouldn't even talk about this. Last but not least, is a family member of mine, Lynette Wesley. And Lynette comes from the federal government where she works. And I'm bringing Lynette on because I don't want people to say that you are too young to have these symptoms. And even though she's in her early 40s, she actually talked about having to deal with symptoms in her 30s. And I feel like as a young person, a young woman, she deserves her voice, and others like her deserve to be heard. All that being said, I thank you and I hope you have a great time in this conversation. And now, please welcome to the stage Dr. McMillan.
Hello, ladies. Oh my gosh. Okay, y'all. So y'all just gonna have to excuse me tonight because I am with my girlfriends. And so you all just have an invitation to eavesdrop on a conversation. That's what's happening tonight. Okay. So when I started the apology tour, I'm gonna tell you what happened. It was like around this time every year, I do a virtual speaking tour. That's one of the tools I use to help elevate the conversation around perimenopause and menopause. And every year there's a theme. And so this year, what was dropped in my spirit was you guys need to apologize to women for what has been happening in women's healthcare, especially when it comes to perimenopause and menopausal options and the conversation around it. You need to apologize for this as part of the medical community. Y'all need to come up and say we're sorry, okay, and this is why we're sorry. Well, lo and behold, as my mama would say, do you it's like, the Lord drops stuff in your lap. Well, in the beginning of November, the FDA removed the black box warning on estrogen products. And I was like, whoa, this is the time. We need to step into this moment and amplify this conversation. So this is how the apology tour kind of got started. And I was going around and I'm asking all my super friends. I call them all my super friends. I reach into my Rolodex of super friends. I was like, will you host a spot? Will you host a spot? Will you host a spot? Because everybody has a circle of influence. Everybody has people that will listen and actually, will sit up and go, oh wait, so and so has something on their platform. And so when I reached out to Dan, she was just like, I was like, yes, you got a platform, honey. Okay, people gonna listen to you. And when she came up with this brilliant idea of a roundtable discussion, I was like, yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. And so what has happened is the WHI study, which was the Women's Health Initiative, was the largest study to date for women's health. And what they were looking at how they could help decrease long-term effects from three major chronic illnesses that women tend to either die from or have long-term complications from. The first one is cardiovascular. Yes, this is our number one killer, cardiovascular. Number two, osteoporosis. And number three, breast cancer. And when I say it in that order, people go, wait a minute, breast cancer is number three. Yes, it's number three. They have a great PR department. Okay. And so we know about breast cancer a lot. And I say that not in jest or anything, but I'm like, we need to learn from them. Okay? Because women understand, oh, wait, breast cancer, I need to listen up. You will potentially die from complications of cardiovascular, which is heart attack, stroke, or osteoporosis, which is when we get older and our bones get soft and we fall and break our hips. That's the second thing. And so there was a 40 clinics were in this study. 166,000 women were enrolled in this study. And they had three arms to the study. There was the hormone arm. So they looked at hormones, how they could help to decrease this morbidity and mortality, what we call it. They looked at lifestyle changes and they looked at supplementation. Well, what happened is in the hormone arm, it appeared that there were some horrible outcomes that were coming down the pike. And so they stopped the study early. And y'all, I remember because I was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, just gotten my brand new MD behind my name. Got the long white coat on, not the short one anymore. Got the long one on in the hospital. And hello, clock it. Right. And I am sitting in morning report. It's around the second week of residency in July because our fiscal year is July 1st. And my program director runs in and she's waving this paper and she's like, we have to stop it. We have to stop it. We're like, what just happened? She had gotten the study FedEx to her home. That's how important this was. And so now we're sitting here and we're like, what does this mean? And what happened and what the fallout was because of this. So what happened is it appeared that there was an increased risk in breast cancer. It appeared that there was an increased risk in strokes and heart attacks. But what happened is we did not have the right people to break down this study and help women understand what this meant for their everyday life.
Wow.
So you had the epidemiologists and you had the statisticians going around on the press junket, the press circuit, and they were spewing just information. And we were like, well, what does this mean? We didn't understand that the average age of women in the study were 63 years old and older. So they had been in menopause and they were synthetic hormones that they were using. We don't use those anymore. And then when you looked at the actual statistical significance, there really was not an increased risk above your risk of just being a woman in your increased risk of breast cancer or strokes or any of those. And so this is why we need to apologize, because we yanked this tool from women and we told women, we told y'all and us and me, well, sorry, you can't use this and don't know what to tell you. Just live with it. And so this is why we have this conversation right now, because we need to tell you, hey, this is an option. No, it does not increase your risk of cancer. No, it doesn't increase your risk of stroke. And what removing that black box warning did for us, it gave me back credibility.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it in a snippet of why we're here today.
I mean, I've started to see some of those things because, this is like my side obsession. And so there are other people that I follow that started to talk about this. And then it became so ridiculous when you realize who they compared this to. And I remember that study because my mom was just going through after, having a traumatic time of it herself. She had just had a hysterectomy and all of that stuff had just gone down. And she was just starting and she said, I was having a bit of reaction to it. And I was like, because you didn't even get a chance to get adjusted. And then they pulled it back and made it feel like it was the world's worst thing. So much so that there are people that I talk to even today, right? Because, now Gen Xers, elder millennials are all like, this is crazy over here. Right.
Hello.
And because it is. And one of my friends was just like, no, because it's going to give you cancer. We can't take HRT. And I was just like, they created a line in the sand that people bought into so fiercely that they're kind of missing out on all of the things that are necessary,
Absolutely.
It makes me nervous because once you start seeing all these studies and they tell you where estrogen is, it's wild. It's in
Estrogen is
literally,
everywhere.
yes.
You have estrogen receptors everywhere in your body, especially your brain.
Mhm.
That's the one.
Hence the brain fog, right?
Right.
Ma'am, ma'am,
Yep.
ma'am.
Yep.
So
The
I'm
brain fog and the
interested.
dementia.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm interested, Monique, because you are, I would call you one of our veterans because you have, and I say this with all due respect, because you had to piece it together for yourself.
Mhm.
So
I
tell
did.
us a little bit of what, and you're saying this was like about 10 years ago, right? 10 years or so ago.
Jen, yes, being generous. I was doing the math. I said, okay, let me do this. So I just turned 59 in October.
Okay.
And my mother started perimenopause in her mid 30s, and we thought she was going crazy, right?
Yes. Yes.
And but then when it came around to my turn, I was about 38 years old,
Mhm.
and I had incredibly harsh periods. I
Mhm.
mean, it was, and that's how it started. And I just thought it was just a medical thing. I'm going to the doctor, and they're, saying, well, we can recommend a DNC, all these things. I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know if I need to do all that. I just need to straighten it out. Like, I don't know what it is. But to add to Dan's story, it took me a very long time
Yeah.
to be able to get to a doctor. Every doctor wanted to prescribe me antidepressants. That was the first thing that they rolled out, and then and after they told me it was all in my head,
Mhm.
and you shouldn't worry about it. You're too young. You're too young. And it wasn't until I think it was about 4 years, Dan. I think it was about 42
Mhm.
where I love that you were on Oprah's platform because I was literally watching Oprah and
Mm.
she had someone on there talking about it. And literally they said, you could be in menopause at this age. And don't let anybody say you're crazy. Keep going after it. And
Yes.
it took so long before I could find a nurse practitioner that
Mhm.
actually listened to me. And I got a book on bioidentical. I got a book
Mhm.
on all these things just so I could understand.
Yes.
And I tell you, not that it happened overnight, because it doesn't happen overnight,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's a course of time.
Right.
It was a fight. B, I had to believe in myself and what I was learning and trust what I was learning and what I was feeling, that I wasn't crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then be diligent about getting the medications. And my insurance company didn't pay for it, right? So it was not a fun time. But yeah, it's 21 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. I was going to say, because I just was thinking, I was recounting my own story. It's been 10 years for me since
Hmm.
I've been on hormone replacement therapy. And like you said, I say all the time when I do talks for women, I said, if I had $1, yeah, I'm going to adjust for inflation for every time somebody told me they were told they're too young to be in
Yes.
perimenopause, I wouldn't be giving this talk. I'd be on a beach somewhere sipping a Mai Tai or whatever, because I would be rich, because literally women are told that, and your hormones can start changing in your 30s. Our hormones change every decade. Really,
Yeah.
they do. And
Yeah.
so as early as your mid to late 30s, you can see some type of symptomology that shows up because there's a physiological process happening in your body.
Exactly. And the one thing I do want to add to the conversation as well is it can change vastly as to where you live and how open they are to
Yes.
medication, to bioidentical, to understanding. Because I moved from California to a little teeny little town in Illinois called Plainfield that looked like little Mayberry. And that's
Mhm.
where, for the third, fourth, fifth time, they didn't know what I was talking about. And they kept trying to put me on antidepressants. And they went all the way back to, you're too young, you don't need this, and all those other things. So it can change depending on what region of the country you're listening, that you're
Absolutely.
living in. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, Kelly, I know that Daniette said that you are kind of like in the middle of it. She's deemed you kind of the perimenopausal hormone hottie right now. And Tracy, you're new to this. So I want to get you all's input, and then Lynette, I'm going to come to you because you are the girl that I'm talking. Listen to me, I'm sorry. You are the woman that I'm talking about, right? You are that woman that says something's not right, and everybody's brushing you off. They're saying, no,
Mm.
not yet. You don't get a seat at the table yet. So,
Mm.
what has been some of you all's experiences been?
Yeah, I'll hop in. Dismissed, and I want to say, like, just from a historical context, like, the suffering of women has historically been dismissed
Oh yeah.
throughout world history, right? And we're just sort of set aside, like, well, sort of this is the costs of the fall of Eve, whatever they want to attach it to, like you can take it all the way back to Eve. Like, you are just destined to suffer in this way. This is your plight in life and in adulthood. So it starts before it starts really at birth, where women are essentially taught to be in service to everyone else and to abandon ourselves, to abandon what we are feeling, what we are experiencing, whether it is emotionally or physically, to not be too much, to not need too much, to not, being dramatic or being overly emotional. And so I feel like that informs our experience throughout life already. But I don't even, and then, the lines are blurred, because from the time we are like 9, 10, we're prepubescent and then puberty, and you're just rolling in from one phase into the next, where you cannot distinguish sort of what is informing the way you're feeling. Like, is it life stressors? Is it motherhood? Am I just exhausted because this is what life is? This is what has been normalized as womanhood and as adulting and all of the things. And then if adulthood is soup and you're neurodivergent, because that's my thing that is also a part of this whole experience. Like, I'm trying to do soup with the fork, right? And it's like it's this cluster of lived experiences that are coming together, which also prolong my suffering for the sake of being a non-compliant patient, Dr. LaKeisha.
I am bound by HIPAA,
so you have all these barriers in medicine and healthcare, right? Where they're not having the open conversation with you. When I first started saying, hey, I'm having these pains or these mood swings or whatever, to Monique's point, it's just kind of like, well, you're just getting older and this is normal for the aging process.
Oh my gosh.
They just offer like, well, we can just cut it out. Like,
right. So I say that there are so many symptoms that are common that we have normalized it. And just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal.
Right. That's
and
key takeaway.
That is what we have done. And it's like, oh, welcome to the club. You're 40 years old. You're 50 years old. You're just going to start falling apart.
And I want to add to that too. I remember watching my mom and her peers having hot flashes, and it was one of the only symptoms that were really talked about, and you can see it. So everything else kind of is one of those things where you didn't even know. They didn't even talk about the sleeplessness or the brain fog or the hair falling out or the dry skin, or like, they didn't talk about some of those things. And I think they did just attribute to it's just getting older. And it's frustrating because you want someone to kind of tell you these things. I remember when I started puberty, you learned about all that stuff. They taught you about what was going to happen. I mean, I read, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. They have all these things for puberty, but we're like in puberty in reverse. Like,
that's exactly what I call it.
Where is the Judy Blume now writing the books about, what's going to happen? They have all the Pixar movies about puberty turning red. And, where's the Pixar movie for the menopausal woman?
Yeah.
So I think on my journey, I'm just trying to figure out, okay, well, is this normal? No, can I deal with it? So that's where I am right now.
I have one of my super friends. Her name is Andrea Donsky, and she is a menopause nutritionist out of Canada. She and her team have written in the last 2 years, probably have written 4 what we call white papers, which means she's been published in journals, and she's been published in the Menopause Journal. One of her papers was solely a survey study, and she surveyed over 5,000 women. And do you know they came up and it was a symptoms paper? Like, what are the symptoms of perimenopause and menopause? Because we only hear about the big three, right? Hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal dryness. And so people start equating that and saying, oh, I don't have that, so I didn't go through menopause. I've literally had patients come in and say, well, I didn't have that, so I didn't go through menopause, but this is what I'm dealing with. And they're telling me their symptoms, and I'm going, okay. There are over 100 different symptoms that they have been able to document that are associated with perimenopause and menopause, which now helps us to say and help people to understand your journey is individualized. It is very much your journey. And so you may not have the hot flashes. You may not have the night sweats. You may not have the vaginal dryness, but do you have the phantom smells? Hello. Yes, I'm Keisha and I have phantom smells. I'm the only one that can smell the stinkiness in the room or whatever, right? Do
Or
you
the random itching or
Thank
scratching.
you. Exactly. Itchy skin, itchy ears, ringing in the ears, those type of things. All of a sudden now now you got to wear glasses, or your vision has changed a little bit. Dry eye. Dry eye is one of those symptoms that come from testosterone lowering. I mean, there's so many. There is a whole paper was written by Dr. Wright and her team called the musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause. Y'all know that thing where you wake up one morning and you can't move your arm because you got frozen shoulder? And then you go and get the $1 million workup and they're like, nothing's wrong with you. Well, because your hormones are like WD-40 for your joints. And when they start drying up, you got locked joints. I had it. I woke up one morning and was like, why can't I raise my arm above my head?
Right.
Yeah. And then you're just told, oh, well, I don't know, go to PT. Go to PT, maybe that'll help.
Yeah. I have a coworker that exact thing happened to her, and it wasn't until later she found out it was a symptom of her perimenopause. But by then she had already gotten 2 cortisone shots, and and was scheduling PT, to your point. Yeah,
exactly. And those are some of the adjunct therapies that can help. So I realized, okay, there were some other symptoms that I was actually having myself. And I said, okay, physician, heal thyself. If you were your patient, what would you say to you? Which means, ma'am, go test your own hormones. And I was like, oh, you have none. Okay, get your stuff together and get the right, hormones on board. And my son has put together a program for me. So I had to lift and I was stretching. Do y'all know my frozen shoulder is gone? And I did not have to get scoped. And I did not have to have the $1 million workup. And I was just like, wow, this is what is going on in midlife, what we call our midlife crisis or whatever. This is the getting up and always grunting, not, getting up and making a noise, that type of thing. So, Lynette, tell us what has been your experience, ma'am.
So my experience has been interesting. I'll say that. It started during COVID. I've always had a heavy periods, like some lady said, but I started having like 14-day cycles. So it would go for 14 days. It would leave for about 2 or 3 days, and it would come back and go another 14 days. I also dealt with fibroids. So I had a combination of a lot of issues. So I dealt with the fibroid issue with my doctor, handled that. And then I was in her office one day waiting in the lobby. And she had this screen going with these different promotions and things that she does. And it said bio pellets or something like that, HRT therapy. And I said, well, what's HRT? I said, this is interesting. This is new. So when she took me back into the room, I said, well, tell me more about this HRT. I said, everything on that little commercial that you had in your waiting room, I have all of those symptoms. Like, I'm mean, I'm hot, I'm itchy, I don't smell good, I have no drive. Like, I have every single symptom on there. I had every single one of them. She said, well, we have this new thing that she said I specialize in. I was like, oh, you special. And if I could shout her out, Dr. Ariane Cook at Waldorf Women's Care is my doctor. And she is
awesome.
When I say that she is like cutting edge, she studies the new latest therapies that come out. Awesome. Like, she is just a wealth of knowledge. She's a really good doctor. So if anybody is in the Southern Maryland area, Dr. Ariane Cook is your girl. But her whole practice, she's in Brandywine, she's in Northern Virginia, but they are really, really good.
Awesome.
So anyway, so she said, well, I'm on the HRT therapy. She said, I recommend it. She said, it helps you, get your libido back, your energy. You may lose a little weight because it gives you that extra boost, when you're working out. Your skin will be your glow. You may get a little facial hair. I said, don't worry about that part. I will shave it. And, all these things that, the extra side effects that come along with it. But the perks, when she tested my levels, they were so low. I said, there's no wonder why I'm so aggravated, so agitated every single day. Like, I'm just like angry at the world. I can't function. I don't want to speak to anybody. I don't want to look at anybody. It's COVID. Everybody's in my face. Like, I just could not deal with life. So I got the HRT, the pellets, and I want to say probably 3 weeks, I guess. That's when I started really to feel the difference. I was a brand new person. They don't cover it. Insurance does not cover it. Now, I say that's everyone who I recommend it to. Insurance does not cover it, but the cost is so worth it for me, for my husband, for my children. Like I am a much better person because of it.
Absolutely.
So I definitely recommend it. And I will say, somebody mentioned this earlier. The generation before us, they didn't really talk about perimenopause.
No.
They talked about the hot flashes and, maybe the sweating, but nothing else besides that they really discuss or really pour into me. So at the time, I guess I was about 37, 38, and now I'm 42. When I told my mother about this HRT, I said, well, Mom, maybe you need to try this. I think it would help you. Oh, no, I would never try that. Why not? Like, you need this. Your husband is saying you need something. Like, try this. And she's like, no, that's no. But it's that generation. It's that mindset that they don't want to tap into that. But I think it would definitely help people who are in their late 50s, early 60s, who are still experiencing these.
Absolutely.
Give it a try.
Absolutely. And so this is that caveat. This is part of that conversation where what the Menopause Society has actually their position statement on HRT. They have said, and this was a position statement they put out in 2017, that said the gold standard for menopause therapy is hormone therapy. Now, they have a caveat. They say you should start it within 5 years of going into menopause. And then at that 10-year mark, maybe have a conversation with your doctor to see if this is something that you still want to do, if it is still, warranted. My personal opinion is that this needs to be started in perimenopause, not within 5 years of going into menopause, but it needs to be started in perimenopause because of the benefits. We know that there are benefits for brain health. It actually helps decrease your risk of dementia. It helps decrease your risk for certain types of breast cancer. It decreases your risk for colorectal cancer. It decreases your risk for osteoporosis, those softening of the bones. It really does help with longevity. It helps to decrease what we call metabolic syndrome. And this is what happens why women start gaining weight and their cholesterol goes up, because there's this dysregulation in multi-organ systems that is happening. And so what I'm saying is start in perimenopause, start having that conversation, get your labs tested. Ma'am, I remember, Lynette, I was 40 years old and had my labs tested and I had no measurable testosterone in my bloodstream. And my adrenals were a hot mess. And so I was like, no wonder I feel like I'm walking sideways and can't do anything, right? And so that has been my journey. And I believe that you're probably going to go longer than 10 years. Like, this is probably going to be something that women want to continue because we're active, because we're living, because we have great quality of life when it's on board.
Yes.
I have a patient who's a cyclist. This woman came to me when she was 50 years old. She turned 50, came to me as a patient. And I do the same thing, Lynette. I offer hormone therapy. I do pellet therapy. And so I totally love that your doctor's doing that. She came to me and she would cycle 100 miles. Cycle. And she's now 55 and she's still cycling. And she's like, now they're telling me I'm supposed to stop this in another 5 years. She's like, I'm not stopping this stuff. And I said, I don't see the evidence that says that. There's no evidence to date that says bioidentical hormones cause a problem. Now let's go back to this black box warning. Why was there even a black box warning on estrogen products? And what did that mean? Well, what was happening is that when it's all about nomenclature and it's how we actually label things. So if chemical compound is made and it is structured in such a way and we say, okay, this has estrogen properties, or it's estrogen, or we're going to call it this. It looks just like what estrogen was, or it can mimic what estrogen does. We're going to label it estrogen. And what happened is, in the WHI study, which had synthetic hormones, ladies, that means the estrogen came from horse urine. It was conjugated equine estrogen. We have no business having horse urine in our body. It came and it made it. I know, right? It's like, what? So they made this estrogen, and they said here, and they made the progesterone, which was a synthetic progesterone, and whenever it has a label, it gets under the umbrella. So because the synthetic estrogens did cause some of these side effects, anything labeled estrogen gets this black box warning.
Wow.
The bioidentical hormones look just like what your body used to or is still making. The body looks at that molecule and goes, I know what to do with that. Okay, send it over to the liver. Go ahead, break that down, turn that around, take that group off of it. We don't need that anymore. Put this group on it, and now send it down to the gut and let the gut package it up with those microbiomes. And then if she doesn't need any more, send it out in her poop. Okay, we're done. That's what bioidentical hormones do for you. The body knows what to do with them. It knows how to break them down. It knows how to utilize what it needs and get rid of the excess. And that is the piece that we're missing. And that's why we need to continue this apology for it.
So, Dr. LaKeisha?
Go.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So here's the thing, because, often we're told, well, you just eat a healthy diet, exercise moderately or regularly, you should be fine. You'll lose weight and everything will be fine. And when you go for your regular physical, whether that is with your family or general practitioner or your OBGYN, they typically do like your basic panels, blood panels, and everything comes back and it says, oh, everything's in normal range. If you're lucky, everything's normal. Normal and optimal, first of all, are two different things.
Thank you for saying that.
And also, I've had this experience recently. So the autoimmune systems, a lot of the perimenopausal symptoms that we get mimic autoimmune symptoms. So I'm getting autoimmune diagnoses, which could be perfectly legitimate. I go into my patient portal to look at notes and test results and all that. All of the notes shocked the living daylights out of me. Just said, lose weight, manage weight, manage weight, manage weight, like repeatedly. Nothing about optimizing my lab results or hormones or any of the things. So who do people need to go see? Because is it an endocrinologist? Is it your traditional OBGYN? And I'm not, trying to put you on the spot to speak out against any practitioners or anything of that nature. But it is so frustrating because all of us are juggling a million different balls. Getting appointments, getting into specialists is already challenging in and of itself. And we're not going to even go down the rabbit hole of accessibility when your insurance doesn't care about this aspect of women's health, clearly, because they're not paying for any of this.
That's right.
So I know I just dumped a whole lot because it really enrages me. Like I get enraged at what is expected of us to just keep on carry on. Oh, well, if you would just lose weight, or, oh, you just need to drink more water. Sure. All those things are great. We need to do them, but that ain't all of it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So Pandora's box opened. So Daniette, I will already say this for you. These do not reflect the views of At the Kitchen Table. So that you will
that's perfectly fine. I am sure they probably do. I am sure they probably do.
I know, people can come for me too. But so first thing, in residency, we are not taught about perimenopause and menopause. We are given maybe about 10 hours out of 4 years. Okay. Because we are taught as OBGYNs to deliver babies and to do GYN surgeries. I'm just be honest. That's what we are taught. To manage pregnancies, deliver the baby, make sure mom and baby are healthy, and then any GYN surgery that needs to be done. So that is one of the things. So if you're going to a doctor who has been practicing for about 20 years, y'all, guess what? They were those interns in 2002 that got the message and the memo that the WHI study said hormones were bad. So that's part of what's happening now. So you're seeing the doctors, we're the seasoned ones now. We're the ones that are the attendings, and we're the ones that are training the doctors coming along, and we're the ones that were told that. And unless you have taken the time, like I have done, to do some studying outside of your practice or taken a chance to take a pivot and turn, you're not going to have someone that after a long day in clinic, after a long day seeing patients, being told that they've got to increase the amount of patients they're seeing, also check all the labs, make all the phone calls, call in all the prescriptions. They're not going home to read an article or sit on a video and learn something totally new and have to, take a right turn. The other thing, though, is that you will find people like myself that said, you know what, I need an exit strategy. Something's not right. And I really want to show up in the world a different way. And be it either your own story, life knocks you down with a 1-2 punch or sits your behind down or whatever, that's what happened to me. And it was like physician heal thyself, basically. And being able to take a deeper dive into functional medicine and integrative medicine and realize, oh, wait a minute, this is out here and this is how women are feeling, and being able to put together a program for them. That is, so what you're looking for are people that actually say, and you're going to come up across some people that say they do X, Y, and Z, and it may not be all it's cracked up to be. But for doctors like myself, and for the one that Lynette found, we have been the ones that have gone out and done the studying. We have gotten some extra training, and we have now implemented some protocols and procedures in our practice so that we can really show up and help women. So you're looking for possibly someone that says they do hormone replacement therapy specifically, because endocrinologists, and I respect them, they have gone to school a very long time. They've done specialties and fellowships. They are looking to diagnose and give an ICD-10 code to what you come in the door with. And that's what most doctors do. What is an ICD-10 code? It's a diagnosis code that the insurance company will recognize and reimburse them for. And you're correct. Insurance is not paying for this. And this is why doctors like myself are concierges, because we will turn in a claim and get paid 50 cents for it, literally. I have another gentleman I follow, and I think he's out of Texas. And he said he actually did a live on Instagram. This may have been a year or two ago. He was like, to the woman that made the Google review, I'm sorry. Because she was upset that he had switched over from insurance to concierge. And he said, I submitted a claim to your insurance company and they paid me 50 cents. He's like, I cannot survive on 50 cents.
Yeah.
So it is a very complex problem. It's a very complex topic, because we do need people to recognize that this is something that is real. You don't necessarily just need an ICD-10 code for it, because it's real stuff that's happening. And what I am able to do now is I'm able to sit and have a conversation with you. My appointments now are about an hour long. I get to sit with you. And I get to really dive into your medical history, your story, help you connect your dots. And then I layer on functional medicine testing so that I can come up with a personalized symptom solution blueprint for you. Because that's the other thing. So there are some people out there that are doing hormone therapy. And this is where you do have to be very diligent, and you have to kind of, do a little bit of your own digging, where all they're doing is giving you hormones. They are not really understanding the interdisciplinary dysfunction of your adrenals, your gut, your thyroid, your brain health, because it's all of those symptoms. And like you said, there's also the brush of being painted with autoimmune type of diagnosis, as well as the weight. So they don't even understand that perimenopausal weight is not even just go work out more and eat less. It is a whole metabolic dysregulation that happens because your estrogen and testosterone are decreasing.
And if I could say something really quick with the weight issue, when I had stopped taking it for a little while, I can tell the weight creep back up. And then as soon as I got back on it and I was working out a little bit, I was like, oh, I see muscle now in my arm again and my legs. I was like,
Exactly.
this is what I was missing for the short gap that I took. So it definitely makes a difference.
Exactly.
And it's the energy. You know, for me, there's a couple of things. So I feel like I've been on this journey a long time. Like Lynette, you tapped in at 37. I think my first hot flash was 35. And I'm knocking on 50. I love the little window that they say that African American women have it a little bit longer, right? You know, they have it at 15. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm past 15. And because they keep running these stupid numbers, I'm still not in menopause. I just want to say that it makes me angry. Like, what do you mean? I'm not. What do you mean?
Okay, so the reason they're not in menopause is because of the strict definition of menopause. So let's get some definitions here. So
tell the definitions, and then I'll tell you why I don't follow the definitions.
I know. So because we have definitions so that doctors can talk to doctors. Basically, that's all it is, really. You know, so that I can say, okay, if I read your note, I know what you're talking about. The strict textbook definition of menopause is 12 consecutive months without a cycle. It does not include your symptomology at all. And that is if you are not on birth control, if you're not on any hormone therapy, 12 consecutive months. And there's a reason for that. It's because if you go 12 consecutive months, you're not on anything, you don't have a period, and then you have a period after those 12 months, you have to be evaluated for uterine cancer. We're not saying that postmenopausal bleeding equals uterine cancer, but it's the big differential, the first one on the differential diagnosis you have to cross off. Now, perimenopause, that's purgatory, because you can be in perimenopause for 5, 7, 10, 15 years before you go into menopause. And that's where we are talking. That's what you're talking about, because you have these symptoms because your hormones are decreasing. And so it's showing up as either I can't sleep, I can't go to sleep, I can't stay asleep. I'm starting to gain weight. I breathe air, I gain 5 pounds. I walk in a room, I can't remember what I was coming in for. Somebody calls my name one more time, I ain't got no more stretch in my rubber band. And let me tell y'all something. Ain't no, you know, all of the things. And you're right. Black women go through it sooner, earlier, and longer, and more intense. And my humble opinion is because if you look at the stressors that women have to deal with, which tax the adrenal glands, because your adrenals are supposed to take over during this time of life, you have no more fuel in your tank from the adrenals. That's it. They're done. They were keeping you alive. They did their job. And now that you want to waltz into menopause, you're like, can you give me a little bit of estrogen, a little bit of testosterone, and a little bit of progesterone? They're like, no, ma'am, we keeping you alive. We barely here.
Mine are like, because, okay, so my thing is, you know, I had the heavy periods and I ended up with an ablation. I have an autoimmune that triggered it, right? And so that made it fun. But because I have an ablation, I mean, I haven't had a period in almost 10 years. So when they do the test, it's always funny because they're like, yeah, but if you had a period, you would still
right.
have
So this
one.
is where
I'm like, thanks.
This is where once I know that you've had something that alters it, I throw it out the window and I go, okay, what are your symptoms?
Right. Well, we should call and talk. But I will say that, so this is a couple things, right? So I was like, you know, autoimmune throws it, exacerbates it. Mine definitely did. I will say that. But then I've also learned, again, talking to Monique, who I literally said one day, I said, Mo, I'm sitting here crying at commercials. I'm pretty sure I'm not crazy. And don't get me wrong, like I'm battling my own depression, but I also know that I'm not so sad that these commercials are making me cry. She just laughed and she was like, Dan, you just need to ask for X, Y, and Z. Okay, I will, right? And I think I told you, we started with pellets, and pellets are ridiculously expensive, but they're also not as regulated. So I'm trying to be better. and, pay attention to having doctors that actually, like you said, follow up, not just dropping the pellets and
Right.
roll.
And run.
And I think that was one of my issues. Now, I won't lie. So I have 2 OBs and an endocrinologist, and I am perfectly fine with having a third OB, because I need to have multiple conversations. But I will say one of the things that I've also learned, and this is definitely ageist, and I'm just gonna say it.
Mhm.
If you can't feel and understand what I am feeling, I need you to not talk to me about it. Because I can't talk to someone who doesn't understand the symptoms that are happening, because you're going to look at me and say, well, the dictionary definition of what you're doing is this. I said, I hear you, but I also know this, this, and this, because I come and inform. And this OB, she and I went back and forth a little bit, like a little toe to toe, based on this conversation, because she was like, well, you're just listening to what other people say. No, I'm not crazy. I do know how to read reports, and I know these reports are out there. I'm just going to tell you that all of these things count. And, once we, cleared the air, I started the patch and the progesterone. I hadn't been on progesterone before. And so I've been on progesterone probably 6 months, and I like it. I was like, yeah, I probably should have been on that, going on, because sleep is wonderful. But I do think that's one of those things, is you have got to find doctors that care. Right.
Yeah.
Like Lynette said, finding a doctor that cared. Like Monique said, she went to battle to find a doctor. And also realizing, the last point I'll say is that we continue to evolve. So the thing that bothered me at 35 didn't bother me at 45 and doesn't bother me at 49. It's a different set of things. And, when Monique and I talk, and I'm just putting her business out here, not really, she's got a different lane that she's in. So her symptoms that she has now are not the symptoms she had 10 years ago. Right. And even though she's like ahead of us, we have to kind of do this thing where we constantly have to pay attention and check in, and not just be like, okay, this is where I'm at. Right.
Exactly. And that's why I stopped using the term postmenopausal.
Right.
Because I had patients that were coming to me saying, oh, I'm done with that. But let me tell you what else is going on. And it's this and this and this. And I was like, well, it's because, again, you've had a shift. You had another shift. And so, some people will say you're postmenopausal at 13 months. Some people say at 12 months and 1 day, you're postmenopausal, because like I said, they'll use those strict definitions. And I just say, you are now in your menopausal phase of life. Just like you were in adolescence, there's an adolescent phase, there's a menopausal phase, and being in tune with your body is the best thing that you can do for yourself, so that you can see the shifts, so that you can feel the shifts, so that you can report the shifts, so that you can be the driver in your car. And I say all the time, I'm in the passenger seat, you're the driver. I just happen to know the GPS coordinates. You tell me where we're going. And I just happen to know what to put in for you. That's all this is. I just happen to go to school for something different. I just happen to, this is my jam. This is what I love to do. And so I'm here to assist you and help you get to where you want to go. Is that better sleep? Is it that I want to be able to, walk without pain? Is it that I want to be able to run my C-suite with ease? Because now I look at these reports and I don't understand anything that it's saying anymore. What is it that you want to be able to accomplish? And all of that is different for everyone. I'm curious, Tracy, it sounds like you are in the beginnings of this, as Daniette said. And so what has been your experience so far in terms of relinquishing the worry or the doubt of hormone therapy and starting some and being in this particular phase?
So I think in my mid 40s is when I started feeling, the shift of going into my menopausal phase. I was not having hot flashes, but I was running warmer. I remember spotting in between periods, longer periods, no periods, skip periods. It was just kind of, from about 45 on, it just March. So in the early stages, I didn't think much of it. I think 3 years ago is when the hot flashes really started.
Okay.
And then they just, every year, it just seems like they got more intense. So this year I was like, I am over it. I can't sleep. I'm waking up. So then last year, I think actually, I did labs with my doctor, and she said I was still in perimenopause. I was still having a period. It was irregular though. And so we didn't do anything last year. But this year, when I got my labs done, same time, November 24, I did it, and November of this year, I did it. And I guess looking at the numbers, I don't know what all they all mean, but basically she was like, "Oh, you're in menopause now." Although I have not, by formal definition, had a period, a period not 12 months, no period. I probably had my last period earlier this year. It hasn't been a full 12 months.
Yeah.
But I definitely felt like it's not coming back. I don't know that it's I think it's gone. And I'm glad. I am
Let's knock
so
on some wood for you.
I am
This is-
glad. So I have not seen it since June. I think she's gone. But Flo is gone. She's left the building. But and I'm glad. But I went to the doctor and she did the labs, and then she said, "Yes, you are a candidate." And so I started the patch literally a week yesterday, and the progesterone.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm on the lowest dosage of my estradiol patch, or the estrogen patch, and I guess probably the lowest of the progesterone too. I don't know if it gets higher.
Welcome, Tracy. Welcome.
So yes, but I'm not feeling anything yet.
I'm so jealous.
Sleeping a little bit better. But I had no pushback. I remember hearing all these horror.
We just lost you.
Uh-oh.
Wait, did she die? Oh, there she is. Okay, you're back.
Sorry, I was getting a call. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Okay, I was getting a call. Sorry. So I wanted to what was I saying? Brain fog.
You were, I think you were, you were starting to get hot flashes, and so you were.
So I was about to ask you the question. I think that's what it was. I a week in, and I'm being patient. I'm still very hot.
So
I feel like I need the highest dosage.
I was about to say it's now dose dependent. Everybody is different. And what most doctors are comfortable doing is starting you on the lowest dose, because they're still using the mantra from the WHI era: lowest dose, shortest amount of time. Lowest dose that can help you to resolve your symptoms, but we're only going to put you on for a short amount of time. I don't do that anymore. I actually, what I will do for patients, and I use a myriad of different forms of hormone therapy, the delivery system. So I use patches, I use compounded creams, I do pellets. So depending on the information I get back when I do the testing, I will then prescribe what I think is the best course for that patient. And again, most insurance companies don't cover, and especially if you're going to go to a compounding pharmacy, they may not cover that because it's not delivered in batches. It's very customized when you go to compounding pharmacies. And there is a myth that compounding pharmacies are not regulated. That is a myth. They are regulated. Matter of fact, they regulate themselves more than what most of these other pharmacies would do in terms of what the FDA would actually have them do, because they actually have third-party testing of their batch testing. And I've gone in and actually seen their labs and how they actually make their compounded formulations. And they can be very custom. It can, you can really get customized with the dosing. Whereas when you go to get your patch or get your progesterone from, say, the bigger pharmacies, they're already set dosing that you can prescribe from. So it's almost like you have to pick off the shelf what they have. Versus,
so how long do you give it to kick in?
Usually a week. Within a week, you should feel a whole lot of difference. If you don't, I would call them back. Now, some doctors will tell you, oh, give it a good month, or let's, see how things are going. But with a patch, because it is transdermal through your skin, estrogen helps with the hot flashes. So this is how it works. There are estrogen receptors on the temperature regulatory center in the brain, which is in the hypothalamus. And as that temperature starts rising in the hypothalamus, estrogen comes and puts the brakes and says, no, you don't go up that high. Don't go up that high. Come back down. Well, when you don't have estrogen on board, you don't get the brakes. When you put that patch on, you should be flooding your system with some estrogen that should be able to go and have enough estrogen in the body to take care of your symptoms. If you don't, you should go up to the next dose. So this is where and again, y'all, this is for educational purposes only. I would say go talk to your doctor, tell them what's happening, because some women, if they see that it's incrementally getting better, so the intensity of the hot flashes are going down, the frequency is going down, then they're like, well, maybe I just need to give this a little more time. Like maybe give it 2 weeks, give it 3 weeks before I go up. So that's where I would for you, because you're a new, your system is new to all this. So it should really like go, oh, thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for this. And so you may
just a little, not much.
So you may need a higher dose. You may be somebody that already needs a higher dose.
So Dr. LaKeisha, so for me, I can't take the estrogen because I've had a double PE. So I only can take the testosterone pellets. But she did prescribe gabapentin to me for sleep and hot flashes. So I did not take it because another doctor prescribed it to me for my hands because I was having issues with my hands. What is something else that's more natural that I can take besides the gabapentin?
Okay, so when you say more natural, what do you mean?
It could be medication. I'm not opposed to medication, but something besides gabapentin.
So you are a candidate for what is now known as Veozah. That is the non-hormonal prescription. Excuse me, for moderate to severe hot flashes. If that is what you need, if you're having hot flashes, that is what Veozah is for. Okay. I was actually privileged to be in part of the training when Veozah was coming out to market. So I got to meet the neuroscientist, the Black female neuroscientist that headed the team, who was amazing. Okay. And how she just taught. And that's how I learned about the candy neurons in the hypothalamus and the temperature regulation system. And so Veozah is a non-hormonal option for women who it's not an option for you to take hormonal therapy. Okay. So you may have to do something like that if, depending on the intensity and how disruptive this is. Some women will learn their triggers that will actually trigger a hot flash. Some women, I have one lady that said she learned that washing dishes in warm water triggered hot flashes for her. She had to start washing dishes in cold water. I was like, what? She was like, absolutely. She was like, she said, this is a beast. And then there are some women that no sugar actually triggers that for them. Alcohol triggers it for them. I'm a little upset because as we get older, alcohol dehydrogenase, which helps us break down alcohol, goes away. And, we want to go out and have a nice glass of wine, and we can't do that no more because your body's just like, no, ma'am. Mm-mm. So that can trigger a hot flash for some people. Certain foods, spicy foods. And this is the thing. There's no research that says everybody stay away from this because we're so diverse and so different. What I'm championing now too is that we need to go back and we need to have the studies done. We need to go back in and actually have the diversity type of studies because we are diverse. It's so vast. It's not bad to say, Black women, you experience it this way. White women, you experience it this way. Asian women experience this way. I was doing a CME and they were saying that there's not even a word in Native American women's language for menopause. Like they don't even say that word. So if you don't even have language for it, and go back to your point, somebody's point about our mothers, I think, Lynette, you were talking about mothers and grandmothers, and they did not even have the verbiage in their lexicon to even talk about this. Because if you look at the social constructs of menopause and the historical context, it was shrouded as a moral failure on women's parts to even enter into this phase of life.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
And so if we are honest about that and say, this is where we're coming from, this is why we are where we are right now. We had Sigmund Freud that was like, okay, well, maybe if we do this. We had Dr. Robert, I can't think of his last name, but he was like, oh, if you just take the ovaries out of women because they're dry and shriveled up, maybe if we give them cow ovaries and implant them, then maybe that'll help. The reason we have hysterectomy is because women were hysterical and the womb was thought to be wandering around the body. And so if we take out the offending organ, we can stop the hysteria. So have a hysterectomy.
So now I understand why they think you're crazy.
Yes.
About it. Because that's the connection.
That's it. That's it.
Because medically they do think that women are crazy when you start saying, okay, my brain just shut off. I can't remember what I just said. I can't, you know what I'm saying? I can't form this sentence. I'm not sleeping at night. I can no longer pick that up. You know what I mean? Like all of those things put together. Or maybe the fact that they never tested us fully. They never tested things that actually happen to women. And I think the blessing is, honestly, you know, Gen X, a lot happens with us, right? Like a lot of transition happened with us and, you know, those elder millennials, right? So if we just bring them through the Zennials, all of those, and this generation is the generation that is just like, so half of us is like, okay, we're going to sit here, grin and bear it. The other half are kind of like, so no. And then beneath us, it's just like, so this is what's happening. And I need you to know that. Because I also want our kids, the generations who are younger than us, to have this information.
Absolutely.
You know, for me, I look back historically, I'm going, wait, if my aunts had this information, if my grandparents had this information, if my grandmothers, all of a sudden you can see like,
you see, it's all so clear now. You're just like
crystal clear.
I look now at some of the medical situations my mother is dealing with, and I was like, oh, if I could just take you and bathe you in hormones, oh my gosh, like I wish I could just dunk you into a whole soup of hormones, because like I said, cardiovascular. Okay, so now you see how women have CHF, or they have heart attack or stroke. Why is this happening? Because they are losing that protection.
I just want to, you know, one of the things I'm thinking of as you're saying this is, you know, no, they didn't talk about it. No, they didn't share what they were going through. But also, I just want to take a moment to honor what our foremothers have endured and just pushed through and showed up in their communities and in their families, and the loads that our mothers bear and have borne just throughout history, but throughout our lives. And no, we didn't know what was happening to them when they would crash out on us. We're like, oh, you all right? But of course now we get it. But my goodness, like that is just something that I revere our mothers and what they have endured, and our grandmothers, so that we could be here now in this discovery and learning all the things and now having these conversations. But definitely laws and healthcare pertaining to women has to change. And, you know, even if you think about the founding father of obstetrics and gynecology and the torture that Black women endured to learn about our bodies, you know, we were the testers. For, you know, and so obviously it was not made with our comfort in mind or anything of that nature. But I hope now that we have the information and we're dispelling some of these myths, that we can improve it for our daughters and the generations to come.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is the big reason I want to amplify this conversation. Because it's for us, it's for them, and it's not just for women either, You know, I have a lot of conversations with my husband about it, and he's just like, wow, like we need to know these things. And even my son, I was thinking of one time during COVID, just, you know, having conversations around cycles and, you know, about birth control and things like that. And I remember him saying, oh, wait a minute, because somehow we got on a conversation about the type of birth control I decided to use for myself, which is an IUD, a Mirena IUD, because I had heavy cycles due to fibroids. And I was like, oh, 1-2 punch. This is what I'm going to do, because my mother had the conversation with me like, so when you have your hysterectomy, and I was like, wait, what? Hold up, pause, hold on, 20-second time out. What are we talking about here? And she was being proactive because she's like, I had fibroids, your grandmother had fibroids. So I'm just letting you know, it doesn't diminish you. It doesn't take away your womanhood. Like, she was being proactive. And I was like, whoa, hold on, because that is what was happening to them. I decided to have a Mirena. And I remember my son going, wait a minute, you can still have babies. Like, I thought once you decided you were done with babies, y'all just stop having babies. I was like, no.
What a great conversation you had. That was great.
I was just like, wait, what? No. And I think he was like in 6th grade or something. It was like 6th or 7th grade at the time. And I was like, wow, these are the conversations we need to have. And I remember reading a study. It was a very small case study talking about women that share their menopausal journey with their partners see less intense symptoms and get answers faster because of the support. And they think because somebody else has eyes on the ground too, you know, has the eyes open for you as well. Cause you know, they like, wait a minute, hold up. Let me help you out, sis. Let's do some things together. Okay. So yeah, it's part of that living conversation that we have to have. I call it having the talk 2.0. We have that first talk, your body's changing, it's gonna go through this, you're gonna have something called a period. We need to have the talk 2.0. Like, yeah, your body's gonna change again.
Right. And it generally happens right after you feel like you've nailed it.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to go ahead because we're going over, and this has been an awesome conversation. But I wanted to, thank you all for being here. But I think, Kelly, I appreciate you bringing in what they endured. And they literally had to endure so many things quietly, right? Behind the scenes. And just, it always frustrates me because I feel like if only they knew what we knew, right? And I'm never mad at why didn't they tell me? They didn't know to tell. You know what I mean? It's that part. You didn't know any better. You knew as much as you could. So that's one. But the other thing is I wanted us to have a conversation because even though, you know, Keisha threw us out there and told me I was going to do it. I'm doing it though, because I just feel like having conversations like this normalizes it to a point where it is no longer taboo. And I think that that's so important. It's important for our partners, for children in our lives, for generations coming behind us so that they're prepared. And so we are aging differently than our parents. And so that means our lifestyles are different than our parents, and understanding these pieces that it's no longer scary to age. I mean, I don't know about y'all. We thought 50 was a thing, and now it's kind of like, yeah, that's just that. Right. It doesn't matter. It looks different. And I think it's because of the access to education we have, which I think is a blessing, but not taking it for granted. And I think sometimes we take for granted the information we have and the information and the ability that we have to share. Yeah. So I thank you. I thank you for taking time out of your day for being here and jumping in this pit with me as I journey into my midlife new page, whatever that looks like. And Keisha, I'll let you wrap up, and unless anybody has anything quick they want to say, because again, I know my time, I only asked for an hour.
Just quickly, just to build upon one thing Yet was saying really quick, the information that we have now, it is amazing to be able to have such a variety, or like an encyclopedia of information that's right at your fingertips. I know one of the things that people may say, oh, don't do that. But Facebook, they talk about perimenopause all day, every day. There are these groups where so many women are experiencing the same things, and just to be able to read their experiences, it can help you with something, not all the medical advice, you don't take it, you go to your doctor, but some of the small things like, oh, maybe I need to change my soap, or maybe I need to change my deodorant, or just things that you can try to maybe get some instant relief or some relief in minor things is a game changer. So those things I am appreciative for, in addition to my doctor, of course, but.
I like that. So in that spirit, Lynette already gave us her tip of the day, which is, I believe, look in other resources, right? So I'm going to ask Monique and Tracy and Kelly to come up with tips of the day for our women before I close this out.
I just want to express gratitude to Dr. LaKeisha, because I feel like you've been a trailblazer with this conversation. You were sort of on the forefront, and now, a lot of people are talking about it, but it is making a difference. And I have recently, in the past couple of years, gone into HR world, and the organization that I'm a member of, I'm actually seeing webinars about supporting women in the workplace through perimenopause and menopause. So it is making a difference. And I just want to say thank you, and it's gratitude. And I also want to say to women, because we're juggling it all, we're still having to show up as mom, daughter, spouse, but you've got to prioritize yourself. Your family needs you to be well and to be happy and to be a little less stressed, particularly around these holidays when, everything is just swirling around us. The world is on fire. All the things are happening. So take the time. You are worth it. Prioritize your well-being and fight for yourself, like Monique said.
Love it. Tracy?
I think my tip would be to, and I thank you as well, and Daniette, for having this discussion and just being a wealth of knowledge, because I know I called you right before I started, my hormone replacement therapy. So I'm excited for my journey, and I guess my tip would be to not suffer in silence. We did see, like we said, the generation before us kind of, just grin and bear it, but we have other options. Hey, if we live in a world with AI and all the things, then we should at least be able to manage some of these symptoms that we have going on right now. So I would say we don't have to suffer in silence. So thank you for your listening ears. I even called Daniette 3 weeks ago. I can't sleep. I can't sleep. So
I sent her
it's
to
like,
Tylenol
girl, just
PM
take
to
some
start.
Tylenol PM and go to bed. But yeah, reach out to people, get information, and you don't have to suffer in silence.
I love it.
Yeah. I think for me, Dr. LaKeisha, I have truly enjoyed this. I've never been a part of anything like this in a formal discussion in a roundtable with a bunch of beautiful women just discussing something that naturally happens to us, but we're passionate about it because it's our body, right? Yeah. And we want to feel better. So I really appreciate this platform, Dan, that you put together for all of us to talk. Kelly, you triggered a thought because when you said supporting women from an HR aspect, in the corporate world, I'm on the sales side of corporate, and either there's a saying of you're only as good as your last sale. So we're constantly chasing something, right? So there is a person that is on my team that I literally just said this last week that had the grace conversation, because I feel like she's in that space and she's in that fog space. So I think my message is to give grace to yourself, give grace to others, and think about things before you maybe cast judgment, because it can throw off judgment. It can throw off thinking. It can throw off many things. And, really quick I'm at this space at 59, but about 7-8 years ago, Devin and I would be at an event, and the next day I wouldn't remember where we were. And I would say things to him, and he's like, "Don't you remember we did that last night?" And I could not remember. So then I started to almost take photographs in my mind of where we were, what we were doing. And I would talk about it that day, so at least I could enjoy it, because for a long time I could not remember things. And it's not you, it's natural. But to trust yourself, talk to your doctor, and just give yourself some grace. And I think that's what I would say.
I love all of this. This has been a very rich conversation. I appreciate all of you all showing up. I appreciate, Dan, you hosting this stop on the apology tour. Women, what I say to you is get more information, get your hands on anything. And so I have actually developed the Hormone Hottie Bootcamp course for you to get more information. You can go to hormonehottiebootcamp.com, put in promo code apology tour, all one word, so you can get the holiday discount as long as it's available. And get more knowledge. Understand it's 6 modules. You can put it on in the background. If you want to get more in depth to it, then you can actually get yourself and get the workbook that comes with it with each module and take your notes and dive into it. If you want to take the next step and you really are like, look, something's going on with me, go ahead and schedule that virtual consult visit with me. Go to talkhormones.com and you can get that virtual visit with me. Or if you're still trying to figure some things out and you're like, I want to just put my toe in it, go and get your freebie and go to hormonequiz.co. That's hormonequiz.co and start breaking your hormone code. So there are 3 different ways that you can actually kind of wade in the water. It's 1, get your freebie, go hormonequiz.co. 2, if you are ready to take that next step, go ahead and make your virtual consult visit with me. 3, if you want to just get some more information and educate yourself a little bit, get your Hormone Hottie Bootcamp and go ahead and grab that and put in apology tour and get the get the holiday discount. Thank you so much, Daniette, for having me. I have really enjoyed my time. I know the Sandman is coming to take me off the screen now.
No, it's not. It's not coming to take you off the screen. Listen, it's funny when you do a thing that is like a baby dream that you don't even know that you have. And having a conversation like this, I'm sitting here listening to you guys all wrap up, and I'm like, okay, so don't cry. This is like a dream. And so thanks for jumping with me and sharing. Thanks for trusting this conversation. I think it was beautiful. It is recorded. I am going to put it up on my YouTube so that you guys can, if it's not already there, like saved, so you guys can share it, because I feel like this was good information. I'll add in the comments the information that you gave, Keisha. So like being able to do the Hottie Hormone Bootcamp, taking the quiz, and also maybe setting up an appointment with you. I will tell you, every woman that I know that I have sent to Keisha, Dr. LaKeisha, has come back changed and come back loved and feeling like their journey was honored. Honestly, every single woman, every single one. And they speak about her for years every time they see me. And so I'm telling you, it is worth the time and investment to talk to somebody who will treat you with care and will honor your journey and your space. And I think that that is the most beautiful thing that we can do. So give yourself grace. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining me. That's the end of our show.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Good night.